Hey, welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, you're having a great week. It is another Thursday morning, another show, and man, we're getting closer to golf season, which is awesome. It's still a little cold here, though the sun's been out. There's no snow, so there is a chance, depending on rain, that people get out and hit some balls this weekend or later in the week. There's some warmer weather, but we'll see how that goes. But before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Titleist and the brand new SM10 wedges. The Vokey design team is always grinding and always coming up with ways to make each new release better than the last. With the new SM10 wedges, they have done it again, thanks in no small part to the tremendous input they get from the countless tour pros who play Vokey wedges. Better players make better wedges. The feedback the tour pros give directly leads to the improved performance you'll all experience. One example is the CG in the lower lofts for the SM10 shifting to help full shots hold their line better. Think fewer pulls, more pins. SM10s produce the piercing low flight tour pros love from a wedge, but any player can benefit from the added control of lower flight. Get better wedges and become a better player with Vokey Design SM10 wedges. Go to Vokey.com to sharpen your short game with SM10 and find a fitter near you. So we are back. I'm doing this on Wednesday afternoon. I have been kind of doing some work, but also hanging out on the old workbench for a bit. Got a few things that trying to reshaft some irons. I went through, I was kind of taking like inventory of what irons I have, what's going to be kind of used this year, what may kind of get retired. And I think I've counted that this year, right now, as it stands, I've got like 15 sets of irons. So I've got a lot of irons. I was just going through of like 15 sets of irons that I could legitimately just play at any point this year. All of them will get time out there on the course. That is 100% for sure. So the key is to find a true gamer bag by the time I get to my kind of guys weekend. For those you don't know, I do kind of a guys weekend every year. We've got 16 guys. We go usually up to the northern part of Michigan, play at one of the big resorts up there, and we do a kind of a Ryder Cup style. We have a ton of fun with it. We usually have a draft sometimes in like June, where we have our two captains. They pick their teams. Usually we have some type of little contest or something to determine who gets the first pick in the draft. And then, we pick our teams. We go through matchups. We get them all set up. And then, we talk trash a little bit in a big group email thread for up until the time we go play. And then we go out there and we play. And, it's fun. You want to win. It's kind of serious, but we're just there to have fun. You want to beat the guy you're playing or the twosome you're playing. But, at the end of the day, it's about fun. But that one there, those guys don't let me come out there with like 16 or 17 clubs. I got to pick 14. Now, I can switch them up from round to round or day to day, but I've got to stick with the 14 for at least 18 holes. So usually I try to come up with my gamer set by then and play whatever the gamer set. So last year, the gamer set was driver. It was a little tough. I think I ended up playing GT2 for driver, and then for my fairway wood, it was the 16.5 degree GT2 as well. So driver was, what was it? It was GT2, 11 degree head. And I ended up, I think, playing, like I fit into like a Ventus red, but I think I ended up playing Tensei 1K Pro red, that weekend. I think that's what I played all weekend. It's hard to remember exactly. And then I played GT2, 16.5 degree fairway, turned down, a little bit, turned down 0.75 with a Graphic Design 280 CQ7. 70 grams stiff. And that was where I kind of fell in love with that club. I was a little on the fence with it. I was kind of debating between a couple different 3-woods. And that one, when I took it there, we played last year. We went to played a place up in eastern northern Michigan called Lakewood Shores. Or is it Lakewood Shores or Lakewood Hills? Lakewood Shores. Anyway, and went up there and played, hit a few just phenomenal shots off the deck with that thing. And it kind of made it in the bag there. It kind of cemented itself there. And then I played my Ping G437 wood with a Ventus TR blue 8 stiff. And then for 4-iron, I played my PXG Black Ops 4 hybrid with a Graphic Design 280 VF85 stiff. And then for irons was the P770s, the TaylorMade P770s. I think I had just gotten those when I took them up there. I hadn't had them very long, but I hit them really well. I think I took them. That was my gamer set. And then for wedges was 50, 56 PXG Sugar Daddy 3s. And then 60 was the Vokey, was it V grind or A plus? It might, I don't know if V grind was out yet. So it might have been A plus grind that went for me that weekend because it wasn't there. And then putter, it was interesting. I was playing a TaylorMade Spider Tour X Proto, the one with the milled face, no insert. They kind of built it for Scotty Scheffler early that year, and they released like a handful of them. I had that with like an LA Golf shaft in it and a Super Stroke Pistol 1.0. But then I putted terrible because we usually go up Thursday, play like some of us will go up Thursday, play like a little extra round, and then on Friday we start up. So I went up, and on Friday I putted terribly all day with that putter. So I moved, because I bring a whole second bag. I moved over to the lab, my lab Mez Max, and I putted really well the rest of the rounds or the rest of the weekend. So I used that the rest of the time. So and then played ball wise, played Titleist Pro V1X. But so that was my gamer bag at the end of last year, and that was what I took up that weekend and played pretty much the whole time. So this week, this year, it's basically starting over from scratch for the most part, finding what's going to work. Is there anything going to change? I still got the GT2s, all that. I think 3-wood might change. We'll see that. That one there. Same with 7-wood. Just got the brand new Ping G440 7-wood ends. We'll see if that beats out the G430. And then iron set wise, like I said, I got like 15 sets of irons right now. So that are all pretty current, like that are all in the current lineup. There's none of them that are discontinued or anything like that. These are all like kind of current irons that probably came out mostly last year, some this year. But there's a bunch to kind of go through. A few are going to get reshafted. Stuff that didn't necessarily find great success with me last year. So last year, I had the Ping Blueprint S's. Really like those irons. I think they're the best irons that Ping ever made, the Ping Blueprint S. Now, they're a little bit out of my league in terms of what I can play. I've definitely improved my iron kind of striking a little bit, except from the end of last year into now. But I think they're still just a little too much. I think like something hollow body, something a little bit more forgiving is more up my alley. But I had those. They came with some dynamic gold 120s in them. And then I put in some UST, the UST Dart V 105s in there. And they were pretty good, but the swing weight's tough. Though the Dart V 105s, I think, are a little bit counterbalanced. So getting them the right swing weight was tough. I think I only got them like D0 without putting a bunch of lead tape on the back. Maybe C9-ish D0. They were right around that. And I just didn't play them as much. I like those shafts a lot. I think they perform really, really well. It was just kind of a tough build. So those are going to go away. That combo is going away. And then shaft-wise, I'm going to put the brand new Nippon Modus Tour 110s in those irons. So we'll try those out and see. Hosels, everything's pulled. I got them cleaned out. They're ready to go. I just prepped all the tips for the Modus shafts. So just got to get those. I got to cut them down. I've got it measured. I just got to cut them down, dry fit everything, see what the swing weights look like, throw in some tip weights if I need them, and then glue them up. So those are sitting over there ready to go. The shafts are ready. And then the other one that I'm kind of like, should I take the shafts out of or in a C? Same thing. They're a little bit out of my league, but the TaylorMade P7CBs, I really like those irons. I would love to get to the point where I could really play those because I think they're just phenomenal forged cavity backs. But those are there. They've got a set of mid 115s, which I really play really well. I mean, I do have to say, I have mid 115s in the P770s. I got some mid 115s in these JPX 925 Forge that I really like. So it's a shaft that I actually hit pretty well. So I'm debating, do I move those over to something like graphite to try to maybe get a little bit more height, a little bit more carry out of them, or do I just play them as the 115s, or the 115 mids? I don't know. I kind of want to switch them. And then the other one that's going to get switched is probably going to be the PXG 0317CB. I've got those. I think that's a super underrated cavity back as well. It's interesting that I'm doing all the work on these cavity backs, but I didn't play them as much. I was playing a lot of hollow body stuff last year, and that's what I was kind of primarily focused on. So I think, bringing some of these back, but those, I think they've got Project X60s in them, and I'm not going to lie, I did a sloppy job with the ferrules, so they kind of don't look great. I didn't really even, half of them aren't even turned. But those, I think I might take those out, and I've got a set of KBS PGI 100s with a 90 for the 4-iron and 4 through gap wedge, and run 4 through gap wedge with those and see how they go. Because it's, again, another iron that I think, maybe I add a little graphite shaft. It's a little easier to hit. Maybe throws it a little higher in the air. Maybe it's something that I play a little bit more and find a little more success with. So those are going to change. And then the other one that I'm debating to change on is I've got a set of Vega VDCs. So Vega cavity backs as well. Funny, like I said, everything's cavity back now that I think about it. They have the Shimada Tours in it. And the Shimada Tour is okay. I hit it all right. But again, it's one of those, like, it's not amazing for me. And I'm debating, like, I've got a set of KBS money taper lights that I really like. That shaft, again, easy to get up in the air, but it's super stable. So maybe I go that route there, add a little launch to it, and get those up in the air a little bit easier. So those are the sets that are on the bench at the moment. And then we'll see from there where things go. So, and there's other iron sets that who knows, there's going to be other iron sets I know that are going to come out between now and kind of summer. But those are the big ones. I'm going to change up those. I still think at the end of the day, gamer bag will probably be something like a B770, something hollow body, get me some distance, get me a little bit more forgiveness, and just to keep things there. So right now I don't have a what's in the bag. I know people always ask me, what's in the bag, and if you had to play, right now, what would you game? I think right now for irons, it probably would be the P770, so the most comfortable with them. But the JPX 925 forged are really, really close. Those are really good. And then the other one that I truly like, I might actually put these in first, the Cobra 3DP Tours. I did a little post on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, at Club Junkie Pod, where that I put just like a dispersion, or the bird's eye dispersion chart out for those irons. I was out hitting balls in my backyard. In my net, and I was using the full swing kit and RCT balls, so making it as accurate as I could, and hitting balls there. And I mean, the dispersion thing, it was so small. It was just like a tiny little purple dot of where all those 7-irons were landing, and it was like just left to target. And man, those irons feel good, they sound good, and they seem to be extremely straight, very stable. And when you look down at them, they kind of look like a blade, like they're really compact. So I would say right now, if I had to like totally rank, oh man, I haven't played those on the course yet. So I'd probably go P770, 3DP Tour is probably right behind it with those. And again, those have dynamic gold mids in them, so the mid 115s. So again, I think it's a shaft that just it works really well for me. So those would be a really good one. And then after that, it's going to be close. There's a couple options out there. Like I said, 925 forged is really, really good. They definitely got a little distance to them. That is the one thing with the 3DP Tours, like they're not quite as long. They're about 3 to 5 yards shorter than the kind of faster stuff. But if you're going to hit dispersion like that, I have no problem playing half a club less into a green because the dispersion was so crazy tight. And even the 4-iron on that set is really, really easy to hit. But I was hitting 7-irons and they were just landing in the same spot. It was pretty crazy. And not even dispersion right to left, but even distance-wise, they were just super, super tight. So we'll see what goes there. And then when it comes to wedges, I think I'm staying, we'll see. I think I'll stay, probably the PXGs, the 50-56 at least. And then the 60, we'll see. I moved into V-grind at the end of last year, and I really like that 60. I've just got brand new 56 and brand new 56 SM10, the 14F, which I got fit into. So I just got a fresh set of grooves on one of those. So who knows? Maybe that might make it back into the bag. The PXGs just bite hard. Like they spin really hard into the green, especially on full shots, like out of the rough, out of the fairway. They just check up really, really hard. So wedge-wise, it'll probably be that. But putters, got a lot of putters to try out. There's so many good ones too. Like I just look over the bag and it's just like, man, I just cut down. I got a Bentonardi SB2. They're kind of, a zero torque or lie ankle balanced putter. And I just cut it down, got it down to 33 inches, put a Super Stroke 2.0 on it. And I've been kind of rolling it down here. I literally just switched it out like this morning, rolling it down here, and I really like it. When it's down to your length, I might put a little bit of lead tape on the bottom, add a little weight back, but right now I really like the feel of it. Even Roll just sent in, they got new V Series, new Carlsbad putters. I've been rolling the Carlsbad. I think it's the M1 down here, the mallet. And even though it's like the cheaper kind of cast head with a milled sweet face on it, it's got a sweet face insert that's milled, that's put into it. It's a little bit softer. feeling, a little bit softer sound. I'm going to do a review on those, here shortly. I'd like to get it on the putting green first, but that thing there's really good down here. I've been putting really well with it. It's really easy to square up and hit straight. Of course, the Queen Bee 16 is kind of like right now I'm going to make it the gamer because it's really good. And I really like that. So that's definitely going to be one. I'm trying to look over here. And then, yeah, I mean, there's a handful of others as well. So, the Mez 1 Max is probably always going to be in the mix. I've got an Oz. I like the Mez 1 a little bit better. And then, yeah, there's a couple putters in there. I just added a little lead tape to my Kevin Burns 9306 2.0. I needed just a little bit more weight in the head. I think it feels really good now. I could add one more strip to the sole to get the weight up just a little bit more, so that'll be interesting. And then I want to roll. I had a set the new Odyssey AI1 milled 7 series, the silver ones that just came out. I love the finish. They look super luxurious, super a little bit more high end than the navy blue. And that one I took down to Florida when I went down there for the Max Fly XE iron launch, XE2, XE3, which I'm doing a review on those shortly. Like those will probably be next week. And I took that down there. I didn't putt great with it down there, but I just literally cut it down, just put a grip on it. So that one will be interesting. But I want to roll that one up here. I think, with the greens up here that I'm used to, all that one definitely has a chance as well. So a lot of stuff there to go with, and yeah, I just got to figure it out. And really, I just need to get some time on the course, and that is coming very shortly. So I'm excited for that. So, but in the meantime, I've been hitting balls indoors at a place with TrackMan. I've been hitting in back yard, my net. I've been using more of the full swing kit. I've got to get the Bushnell. I just charged up. I actually hadn't used it in a while this winter, and I charged it up, and it made me do like a battery recycle, and that took like 2 days. It took like forever because it needs to like charge the full battery and then deplete it and then charge it back up again. And it just like it took really long, and then like it went into overnight, and then the next day it had to like charge back up and all that. So it took me a couple days to get that, or I would have been using it, but it kind of needed that setup. So I will. And then the iPad that I used with it, I gave to my daughter because she's wants to use the iPad for stuff, and I have to like I gotta put the software on something else to use it. So yeah, I was using the full swing kit in my backyard with the RCT balls and all that. So I was kind of hitting balls with a bunch of stuff lately. So I know I've got a handful of stuff to review, and it's coming. It's just every week I'm plugging away, and every week I'm trying to get more and more stuff done. So this one, but that's what's on the bench. So that's what's on the bench. That's kind of my what's in the bag. I'm trying to figure it out. So beginning of August, I think it's like the first weekend of August is our trip this year. We're going down to French Lick, which is going to be amazing from the photos I've seen. I've never been there, but the photos, some of the content creators that had a match down there, all that, the place looks absolutely phenomenal. So excited to go down there with our group and have some fun. But yeah, I got to put together a what's in the bag. So working on that now, and I will definitely be updating you guys as things make it, don't make it, what's getting beat, what's ranked. We'll always do that. So maybe I'll make that like the end of the show type thing. I'm just like, hey, end of the show, here's where we're ranked right now. Give like 1 and 2 at each position. Yeah, and then I think, what is it, 3-wood? Still trying to figure out 3-wood, but right now I think the Elite Titanium's in the lead. That thing is an absolute cannon. Just put a new shaft in it. Just put a KBS PGW, the new PGW 70 stiff in there. I've got a prototype version. It looks like the prototype one on my wall. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. So anyway, enough rambling about what I've been doing down in my shop. But anyway, now we're talking about a couple clubs. So what we're talking about today, 2 drivers that I've been messing with a lot lately, and those are the Ping G440. So the G440 Max and the G440 LST. Both drivers I've been messing with, hitting a lot of balls with, and I hit them before, so Ping was nice enough to send these things with the 2 or 2.0 shafts, so I had a 2.0 chrome and black, so I had one of each, and then also I threw, as you can see, they have the silver screws in them. If you're watching this on YouTube, I've got all-fit screws in them, and using all-fit different shafts with them as well. So I got a couple different range sessions in with these. I got indoors in the TrackMan for the place that I go to that's indoors, and then hitting balls in my backyard. And I've kind of like averaged out the two. So I've taken the numbers from there, all the numbers I've hit in there, and then all the numbers outside, and kind of averaged the two together to get kind of numbers on here. But these two are really, really good. I really like these. I do have to say it was interesting. So we did Golf DBX's best driver with these things, and best driver, and both the Max and the LST won a lot of of the categories. But it was interesting because I got to interview some of the fitters about these drivers and all drivers. It wasn't just the Pings, but all drivers, and asking these guys and talking about them, and what are you seeing so far with the G440 and Max and LST, and everybody out there was just like, every fitter was just like, sound and feel is so good. Like, it is so good. It might be the best sounding and feeling driver of the year. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. So I was hitting some balls and hitting it, especially when you're hitting indoors, because it kind of amplifies everything, or it makes, kind of gives that, makes the sound louder. And I do want to say both these, are probably the best sounding and feeling Ping drivers that they have ever made. They are extremely muted, extremely quiet. And if you've hit Ping drivers before and you were a fan of the kind of louder sound and all that a Ping typically makes, you might not like this because it is so different. They are so quiet. It is just this, mellow kind of, I wouldn't even call it a thud. It's like this mellow crack when the thing leaves, and it's quiet. Like I said, indoors in the TrackMan Bay that I was hitting at, which is all enclosed, they were crazy quiet there. I actually took my headphones out that I was hitting with to actually listen to them again, because I was like, am I hearing this right? And then outdoors, when hitting in my net and you're outdoors, it's almost like you barely hear anything, but it's a super low pitch crack. And there's almost zero metallicness to it. There's none of that resonating kind of gong sound that some of the old Pings have made before. Extremely, extremely muted and great sound. And then in terms of feel, I think the faces definitely have a little bit softer feel to them. I think it gives it a little bit more responsiveness in terms of where you hit it on the face. And honestly, if you were to be blindfolded and you had one LST and one Max and hit them side by side, I don't know that you can really tell the difference. They're that good, but they've really, really changed the sound. And I think part of it is the carbon fiber crown that wraps around there. It definitely helps. And then, kind of the inside, the internal structure can help with those sound waves as well. Really, really good drivers. The sound and feel is spectacular. If you've never really liked a Ping because of that, go try the G440s. I bet you will like them. It is probably one of the most impressive sounds. And I agree. I don't know if I've hit a driver this year that I like better than sound-wise than these. They're just really, really good. So it's almost like the back in the day when you would toss some hot melt in a driver and it would just mute everything out and make it kind of quiet and all that. It kind of does that right out of the gate here. So Max and LST, both sound and feel really, really good. I like these things a lot. As everybody asked, yes, there's still two turbulators. They're still there. I don't really care. They don't really bother me. I know some people they do, but they don't bother me. I think they look really good. I like the look better than the G44 or the G430 from previous years. A little bit more rounded, especially in the back. There's just a little more roundness. I think the G440 or 430, the weight, kind of the weight track here, I thought protruded a touch, and it gave it kind of like a triangular look on the back. And this has just a very rounded, more traditional shape. So I think, again, same thing. If you're typically not a big fan of Ping because of the looks, the sound, and the feel, I think they've nailed all that. I think they definitely made this a little bit more traditional. I'll never call it, it's not a Titleist, but it definitely looks a little bit more traditional. Whether you're looking at the Max there or the LST, the LST is a little bit more compact. And again, I think the shaping on it, they really, really nailed. It's a little shorter front to back, and they did a nice job. So thinner face, the big thing tech-wise, they went to basically a new hosel design internally inside the head, and they called it basically, I think they called it something like, I can't remember what they called it, but inside here, basically in the hosel where the adapter goes in, they basically removed all the material out of there, and it allowed the face, especially near the heel, to flex a little bit more. So they did that on all the drivers and the fairway woods as well. I think even the hybrids. So they moved some of that I think they call it like the free hosel or something like that on there is the technical term. The free hosel. So there's less material in there, and it allows that face to flex just a little bit more, especially down near the heel. Ping says, made the face just a little bit hotter. We all know that Ping has never been known as like the hottest ball speed driver out there. But this one here, they're basically saying, a decent improvement from what they had before. Excuse me. But faster, And the other thing too, is spin consistency. Improving spin consistency. So whether you hit it on the heel, hit it on the toe, or in the center, you're not going to see these wild changes in terms of spin numbers. So that's the big tech. Of course, like everything Ping, meant to be ultra stable, very straight, very stable. And whether it's a low spin model or the max model, you're going to get forgiveness and stability out of it. So I was excited to hit these. Like I said, I've been a big Ping fairway guy. The 430 drivers were pretty darn good. They didn't quite beat out my like GT2 and stuff, but they were really good. So the big thing noticing, starting with, we'll start with the max. This thing is just easy to hit. It's easy to launch, and it's probably got to be one of the straightest drivers that's out there. When I was sitting there hitting balls on this thing, now it is a little bit easier to turn over than the LST, so you're going to be able to turn this over a little bit. It starts probably just slightly left in terms of the starting line, but overall, it's, I think, more neutral than you think. It's not a big draw machine. They do make the SFT version if you're looking for a bigger draw driver. This one here, if you keep it in the neutral weight setting in the back, produces some really high straight drives. You can hit it pretty much anywhere in the face. It goes pretty darn straight. The curve on it is very minimal, and I know this isn't a 10K driver. I think it's very close from what they say in terms of the actual MOI number, like high nines. But this thing here just actually goes straight. It goes straight, and it's easy to hit straight. And no matter where you hit it on the face, it's extremely stable. Like for me lately, I used to be a high toe guy. That was my miss, a low spin, high toe shot that would just curve left and just run forever out of bounds. That was my big miss. I've kind of changed things up a little bit of the swing, so now I'm hitting a little bit more low heel and lower on the face. Those are kind of my misses, so I'm seeing kind of higher spin numbers typically. And the spin numbers on this, while they're not crazy low, they do have something to the consistency part of it. They do not get crazy high, but they also don't get crazy low. So ball flight starts out, I think, just left of target. I think there's just a hair of draw to this. You can always go through in the back weight, move this thing into the fade position and make it more fade bias, or of course you can always move it into the draw position and make it more draw bias as well. But the way it is built, I played it basically all neutral. Both these heads for the most part, but this thing launched definitely high. Between the two window there, you could definitely see, even hitting into the net, you could actually just see on the net where that ball kind of made contact, and this thing here definitely launched a decent amount higher than the LST. Now, interesting enough, the numbers, when I average it all out, don't show like a massive difference, but I feel like there's a much bigger difference than the numbers show in terms of launch on these things, especially on if you take away some of the bad strikes and just use good ones, you're definitely going to notice a nice high launch with this thing. But like I said, high, easy to hit, tons of adjustability. And the nice thing is it's got a little draw to it. If you want to put a fade, you don't want to necessarily move the weight. Ping, of course, on their hosel, you can always basically set that thing to flat, make this head a little bit flatter, promote a little bit more of a neutral or fade ball flight. But the max is, I've been holding the LST the whole time. Nobody said anything, and I've been talking about the max. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm talking about the max. But this max is just extremely forgiving, very easy to hit, and overall, I think a great driver for somebody who wants a little bit of everything. You want, you want distance, but you really kind of, I guess if you want everything, you do want everything, but if you side more on the side of forgiveness, this thing definitely is what you're looking for. It's easy to hit, and it will basically, and I think if it's a wide range of players, you're going to see, guys who are scratch players, you're going to see this head on tour, and then you're going to see in the bags of beginners who are just needing something that goes straight and goes high. So I think the 440 Max is extremely playable, fits a wide range of golfers, and is going to be one of those you're going to see in a ton of bags this year and going forward. And I know there are all the guys who used to say like, oh, the G400 was still, the best driver they ever made, or whatever. I think this is the G400 killer. I think it's done. I think the 400 is done. I don't know why you would keep the 400 with this. You're going to get better ball speed, better spin consistency, and I think this thing, stability-wise, accuracy-wise, is just as good, if not better. So the Max is really good. Now the Max, we'll start with with some of the numbers here. Again, these are kind of like numbers from both TrackMan and Full Swing, and I just kind of merged them together and did some averages. So throwing them all both together, but the G440 Max, I basically averaged on everything just under, so 241.7 was my carry number with the Max. And that's just like the full swing kit. I didn't hit it as well. I was at 241. G440 max, I was at 242.4. So kind of a little bit slight difference there. But I was a little bit faster with the max on TrackMan as opposed to the full swing kit. But with that ball speed number, again, it's not quite as high as maybe I'm looking at some of the other averages on here. I've got a big spreadsheet, and well, the elite is maybe just a little bit faster by a couple miles an hour, not by much though. I mean, you're talking a couple miles an hour. The Elite X, I probably hit the fastest out of anything. That's almost like a slight anomaly on how fast it was. And then the QI35 LS was crazy fast, but it fits right in pretty much with everything else. It was pretty much right on line at that 241.7. I would say a lot of the other drivers, I probably was averaging right around 242, something like that. So it's not that much, not that much behind it. But the nice thing is the number was consistent. I mean, the miss hits, you might drop it down a little bit into the 230s, the mid to high 230s. Great shots would go a little bit farther. You'd have some 250s in there, whatever. But that 240-1 number, when you account for really good shots and all the misses or, the slight misses, things like that, were definitely, I think that number is pretty decent. I think it's slightly better than that if you look, at the shots that I hit. But decent carry number there for the max. And then when you go to the spin number, spin was a little bit higher with this one. So the average between the two, 2786 was my number here. And, again, very, very similar, about 100, not even 100 RPM difference, about 45 RPM difference between TrackMan and Kit. TrackMan was at 27.6 there, and the full swing kit was at 2800. So again, or 2807. So again, like 45 RPM just about. The big thing though is like that number, my contact spot on the max for whatever reason was just a little bit lower face. But the nice thing is, even when I really missed it low, I would see something. I think the highest one I saw was 3086 when I was hitting on TrackMan, caught it low in the face, and it spun up. But that was the highest spin number I saw. And then everything else was right around that number. Really good shots were more in the mid, 2600 RPM range. So, definitely a little bit lower than that number on really good strikes. But striking a little low, a little on the heel, which is what I was kind of doing a little bit. Both times were producing kind of a slightly higher number, but it like I said, still produced decent distance, and that number doesn't fluctuate an absolute ton. When it comes to ball speed, I average 147.2, which isn't the crazy highest one, but it's right there with the other drivers. And again, on good strikes, I was seeing ball speeds in the 150s and things like that. So it definitely is there. Again, I don't take just the best shots. I let it all fly unless it's just absolutely totally missed. Then I might delete that, but I leave everything in there unless it is something that is really bad. So dead center strikes, definitely saw some 149 smash factors and things like that. I never saw 1.50 on either one. I might have saw one on TrackMan, but for the most part, ball speed number was pretty much average the same. 147.4 on TrackMan, 147 on the full swing. So really, really similar there. So it ends up being 147.2 between the two. And then we go to launch angle. Now this one was interesting because, excuse me, when I was indoors hitting on TrackMan, the launch angle for both the Max and the LST, I was hitting them both really, really high. 16.3 was my average launch angle with a 10.5 head Max indoors when I was hitting in TrackMan. And then when I went outside to my mat out there, it became a little bit more normal. It was a 12.9, which is actually still pretty high when I look at a lot of the others. I think it matches the Elite X in terms of the Elite X in terms of launch, and it pretty close to the QI35 Max was pretty close to this as well. But definitely a little bit higher, definitely easy. But the 16.3, it was funny because I was hitting and every ball was like 15, 16, 17. I mean, they're all super high launching. And maybe that tee was just a touch higher in that bay. But I launched that one and I launched the LST high. Both of them I launched really high. And then the Max on the full swing, when I was in there, 12.9 was kind of what I averaged at home, hitting balls there. So that there, it kind of brings out to 14.6. I think that number's a little high. I think, out on the course, all that, I think it'll be closer to that 12.9. But it's easy to launch and really consistent launch. Again, when you hit it different spots on the face, Now, when I shut it down and hit it off the toe, which I'll still do every once in a while, I saw some 9-degree launch angles in there. I could definitely see it get low. But for decent strikes and strikes in the center, slightly low, right in the heel, those balls still actually got up in the air pretty easily and still had launch numbers all around that 12, 11, mid to high 11s. And I saw some stuff, deep into the 12s. But that 12.9, I think, is closer to what I would see actually, or that 12.9 is probably closer to what I'm going to see out on the course. So 14.6, I think that one's a touch deceiving, but I think it comes out, about that anyway. So then we go to smash factor. Smash factor 147.5. I mean, it was a 147 on TrackMan, 148 on what do you call it, on the Full Swing kit. So, decent smash factor there, 147.5. Really, like I said, a lot of ball speed consistency off the face of this thing. And then the apex on this thing was 96 feet, which again, you go from 88 feet in my net when I was hitting at, 12.9 degrees to 104 feet at 16.3. So those two average together. I think I'm really kind of in between, but I think I'm close to that 88. I'm usually like a 90 to 95. If you look at all the other drivers, I'm in like the high 80s, low 90s on everything else. So that 104, it would be great. I'd love to hit at 104. I just don't think I'm going to see that out on the course unless I'm teeing it up really high and all that. So, so that is the numbers for the Max. And I think the Max is a great driver. Like if you're looking for a really good driver that's going to give you just straight performance, G440 Max is going to be tough to beat. It is going to be just an easy driver to hit. It's going to make things fun and just be an easy driver to hit. So then we went to LST. LST definitely has a little bit more neutral ball flight. Definitely saw shots that started like dead straight down line, maybe ended even just a little bit right. Saw some more fades in there. You can still turn this thing over. And especially, again, same thing between hosel and rear weights. You can definitely set this thing up 4 draws, 4 fades, whatever you want. I leave it all kind of in the neutral position. But this thing here, definitely a little different starting line, definitely a lower window. And then spin-wise, definitely saw some lower spin out of this compared to the Max. Especially shots kind of lower on the heel, all that. They just didn't spin up. I don't think I ever saw a ball over 3,000. Saw some high 2,800s and stuff like that when I really missed it, hit off the heel and kind of left it outright. But nothing like, nothing like the Max. Significantly lower spin. I did hit one kind of low toe out there that was like 1975. So that shot is still in my bag, unfortunately. I'm trying to get rid of that. But still some pretty low spin, but nothing, above that. And honestly, it kind of like lived around that 2,400-ish type area. Now the average, that number that I'm going to give you is a little different, but it's going to basically, go right around that. So the LST, I love the straightness of it. It's something that's low spin, it's straight, it's neutral, but it's still forgiving. Like it's still easy to hit. And that's the thing. Like you compare this to like an Elite Triple Diamond or a QI 35 Tour, those things are great, or QI 35 LS. They're great drivers. They're low spin, whatever. And they're pretty forgiving. But this is like playing a regular forgiving driver, but you get low spin out of it. And it's pretty, it's pretty cool. I love the fact that this thing can just go straight. Bad shots end up in good places and you can just get away with it, and then the spin number stays low. So this thing here, I could definitely see, where the Triple Diamonds, the LS heads from all these manufacturers, all that tend to require kind of a little more skill, a little lower handicap. I feel like this one, while yes, it's out on tour everywhere and tour players play it, I feel that guys who are 15 handicaps can play this driver with no problem and get enough forgiveness and distance out of it. But heel strikes definitely stayed. They didn't just ramp up and just fly up to the right and fall to the sky. They had a little better carry than the Max for me. Now out on the toe though, like yes, you do have to say that spin's going to drop, so you got to watch that a little bit. The Max probably held on to that spin a little bit better, and that shot probably was a little straighter and a little longer compared to the LSD for me. But if you're a higher speed, higher spin player, you might actually find that shot to be better because it does hold on to some spin. So, or does lower some of that spin. But this thing here, really, really good. Again, shape I really like, sound and feel phenomenal. But a really straight, really forgiving driver for what it is. So this thing I could definitely say, I was messing with it here, with a couple different shafts and messing around. I didn't include those numbers in here. But definitely going to hit it with a few different shafts to kind of see where it goes. But definitely a big fan of the LST for sure. So this one here, carry number was 244.5, so almost 3 yards longer than the max. A lot of that due to kind of the spin thing. It was a few hundred RPM spin lower. But that number there, again, same thing, very consistent. When you miss hit it, you'd see a drop, but it wouldn't be that bad. But you could get it down there, really missing it off the heel or really missing it off the toe. But 244.5, I saw some really good drives that went a really long way that were on the other side of that. So a little bit of both. That's the average. When I get down to spin, this is kind of the big difference there. I mean, we're looking at, almost 300 RPM. It's about 250. So 2525 is the spin number for this. And interesting enough, in the TrackMan Bay, 2603. I was kind of a little bit higher. And then with the full swing quit, I was at 2447. So definitely something interesting there, that a little bit lower on the kit. But again, same thing, launched it a little bit lower as well. But 2525 was the average there. And I would say most of the good shots were kind of around that 2300 numbers, 2400 numbers. So about 100, maybe 200 RPM less than that for really good strikes. And the stuff lower on the face would ramp up. But again, I don't think I ever saw anything above 2800, 28 and change on there. For ball speed, I actually hit this thing a little bit better. I was at a 148.7 was my ball speed number. So I had 148.4 in the TrackMan, 149 on the full swing kit. So pretty similar numbers there. Pretty darn fast on this one. So 148.7 for me, which again, I think, when I'm swinging, the basically 102 miles an hour that I've got, you're typically getting some pretty good ball speed out of that. And definitely saw some stuff above it. But even the misses included in there, the ball speed stayed really consistent, and 148.7 is pretty much with everything else. I mean, yes, I had some 150s with some of the elite stuff, and I think I had even I think I had a 153 with the QI35 LS, but this one here definitely better than that number shows. I think when you looked at the good shots again, you're seeing better numbers than that, but 148.7 is the average between the two launch monitors. And then here's the one, again, weird thing with launch. 15.1 was when I was out in TrackMan, and I was hitting everything high, and I felt it and all that. I was hitting everything high. So 15.1 is when I averaged indoors on TrackMan. And then outside in my net, 11.2 was the difference, was the one into the full swing kit into my net. So it came out at 13.15, so about 1.5 degrees lower. And if you look at both of them, I mean, it went 16.3 to 15.1, so, a 1.2. And then when I was out there in the kit, it was 12.9 to 11.2, so 1.7. So about 1.5 degrees different in terms of launch from the LST to the Max. Definitely a little bit lower. So this one, I would love to kind of hit it with like a Ventus Red or something like that, something a little bit higher launching than the Chrome 2.0, which is what I used for all these numbers. But I had the black as well that I could hit, but the Chrome 2.0 is where I got everything here. I would love to kind of hit it with something a little bit higher, like a Ventus Blue, even a Ventus Red, some of those shafts, just to see adding that little bit of launch and, and maybe hopefully not adding too much spin. This thing could, squeak out a few more yards, maybe a little bit more ball speed as well. But 13.15, it's easy to launch. It's not hard to launch. It's even in the net 11.2, I think it was coming off pretty decent. So 13.15 was the average between the two. And then apex wise, 90 feet was the average. And again, kind of slightly different. 102 indoors on TrackMan versus 78 outside. 78's a little low there. And I think, something, again, adding a little loft to this head, I think could make it really, really good. So 90 feet there. And then smash factor was 1.465. Again, I look at indoors, 147. So same as the G440 Max. And then outdoors, it was a 146. So a few more misses on this one than the Max, but pretty darn close there. And again, if you look at the numbers there with a 1.465 smash factor, there's a lot to go in this head. And I think dialing in a little bit better will get me to something that's really, really good. So both these drivers, really, really solid. If you're looking for just max forgiveness, the Max is phenomenal. I think it's a great driver. It gives a little better ball speed. And the spin consistency is really great. And then, if you're looking for low spin but still want stability and forgiveness, the LST is right there as well. So both these drivers really solid, and I think they're going to fit in a lot of bags this year. So I'm definitely going to be getting these on the course. I know I didn't really do a lot with the G430s last year, but the 440s for sure. We're going to see more, a little bit more action out of your boy from it. So these two will get on the course with a couple different shafts. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so that is the G440 Max G440 LST. Kind of my experience so far with them, and we'll definitely follow up as we get on the course. So that is the show for today. I mean, I appreciate you listening, checking in. I know this one was a little longer than before, but anyway, that's what I've got. Hopefully you guys have a good one. If you could, follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. Wherever you're listening to the podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, whatever. And you can watch this on YouTube and look at my ugly mug if you want. If you just search Golf the Director Radio or Club Junkie. So any of those, if you want to follow, like, subscribe, whatever, we would appreciate it. And yeah, that's all we've got. And, hey, we'll check out some new stuff and talk next week.